What if the soothing sounds of nature, the chirps of birds, the rustle of leaves, the distant roar of a lion were not what they seemed? What if, beneath the surface of what we perceive as natural animal communication, there lay a hidden language, a chilling truth that silence itself desperately tries to conceal? Imagine a world where animals aren't just communicating with each other, but sending messages, warnings perhaps, that we are simply not equipped, or perhaps not allowed, to understand. In 1997, a faint signal was picked up, a whisper across the ocean depths that defied all known scientific explanation. It wasn't whales, it wasn't seismic activity, and it wasn't from any known human source. It was a sound unlike anything ever recorded, and it hinted at a reality far more complex and terrifying than we could possibly comprehend. To unravel this mystery, we must first accept a disturbing premise. Our understanding of animal communication is fundamentally limited. We categorize barks, chirps, and roars as instinctual expressions, territorial claims, or mating calls. But what if that's merely the surface layer, a convenient explanation to mask a deeper, more sophisticated framework? Scientists have long marveled at the intricacies of animal vocalizations, from the complex songs of humpback whales, extending for miles through the abyssal plains, to the nuanced alarm calls of meerkats, differentiating between aerial and ground predators. But even these sophisticated communications are still viewed through the narrow lens of evolutionary benefit, survival, reproduction, resource allocation. Yet occasionally anomalies appear, glitches in the auditory matrix of our world that challenge everything we think we know. Consider the bloop. This ultra-low frequency, high-amplitude underwater sound was detected by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, in 1997, originating from a remote point in the Pacific Ocean. It was louder and more prolonged than any known animal sound, yet its spectral characteristics suggested an organic origin. Not man-made, not seismic, but something biological, something massive. The very existence of the bloop shatters the comforting illusion of our acoustic dominance. It suggests that there are entities, beings, communicating in ways we can barely register, their voices echoing through the dark, unknown depths, carrying messages we are utterly incapable of translating. And if there's one such anomaly, how many more have we simply categorized as background noise? Or worse, ignored entirely? This is where the true terror begins, when you realize that ignorance might be the only thing protecting us from a truth we are not ready to face. The bloop, while terrifying in its implications, is not an isolated incident. Throughout history, strange auditory phenomena have plagued humanity, often dismissed as folklore or misidentification. Take, for instance, the hum, a persistent, low-frequency sound reported in various locations around the world, heard by only a small percentage of the population. Those who hear it describe it as an irritating, pulsating drone, causing sleeplessness, headaches, and a profound sense of unease. Is it purely geological, industrial, or something else entirely? Some theories suggest mass hysteria, others point to specific industrial activity. But what if it's a form of ultra-low frequency animal communication, a pervasive background chatter from unknown creatures that our brains are struggling to process? And what about the phenomenon of infrasound? Many animals, including elephants and whales, communicate using frequencies below the range of human hearing. These low-frequency waves can travel vast distances, penetrating through solid objects. Imagine what ancient, massive creatures might be discussing. Their conversations literally rumbling beneath our feet and echoing through our oceans, silently shaping events, warning each other of changes, or perhaps coordinating something we can't even begin to imagine. Then we have Coco, the gorilla, who not only learned American Sign Language but reportedly demonstrated an understanding of nuanced concepts, even expressing sorrow and humor. While her linguistic capabilities were extraordinary, they remained within the framework of human-to-animal transference. But what if Coco wasn't just learning our language, but was also trying to tell us something in her own? What if her gestures were an attempt to bridge a gap, To relay information from a realm of animal consciousness we've deliberately suppressed? The idea gains even more chilling weight when we consider the manipulative side of this coin. What if certain human factions, perhaps intelligence agencies or clandestine research groups, have not only deciphered segments of this esoteric animal language, but are actively manipulating it? Reports often dismissed as fringe conspiracy occasionally surface about experiments in bioacoustic warfare, using manipulated animal cries to disorient enemies or control populations. The very notion sounds like science fiction, yet the technology for synthesizing complex sounds, even those outside human hearing, is readily available. What if the goal isn't just mimicry, but genuine communication, a subtle whisper into the animal ear to achieve a desired outcome? The implications are staggering. Entire ecosystems swayed not by natural selection, but by unseen, unheard commands. This brings us back to the bloop. After the initial scramble by Noah, who dismissed it as likely an icequake, the scientific community largely moved on. But a deeply buried, declassified intelligence report from the late 1990s, only recently brought to light through an anonymous data leak, suggests a different narrative. This report, heavily redacted, referred to a significant oceanic anomaly, code bloop, and detailed an active monitoring phase. Crucially, it alluded to pattern recognition algorithms attempting to decode non-human source signals. When cross-referenced with other leaked documents, a terrifying picture begins to emerge, sketching out a clandestine research initiative codenamed Leviathan Echoes. The project, apparently initiated during the Cold War, wasn't just about detecting enemy submarines. It was about understanding potential supraspecies intelligence operating in the deep oceans. It wasn't just about whales singing, but about what else might be listening and what else might be talking back. The bloop, according to this obscure intelligence brief, wasn't just a sound. It was a response. A response to what, we can only speculate. But if the bloop was a response, who or what was asking the question? The report hinted at the possibility that certain cetacean species, long believed to be intelligent, might merely be the messengers, their complex songs acting as carriers for information from an even higher, more ancient intelligence dwelling in the crushing depths. An intelligence that communicates not through words, but through frequencies, patterns, and vibrations so fundamental they bypass our conscious perception entirely, yet perhaps subtly influence our very reality. And that's when the true horror becomes clear. The bloop wasn't just a loud, mysterious sound. It was the whisper of something unfathomably old and vast, echoing from the abyssal plains, a communication directed not at us, but through us, a communication that humanity has only just begun to accidentally intercept, and perhaps clumsily, dangerously, to respond to. Now, armed with this unsettling information, we revisit the question. What if the bloop wasn't an isolated incident, but a fragment of a giant, ancient conversation? What if these strange auditory phenomena, from the hum to unexplained animal mass strandings, coinciding with unusual sonic events, are all pieces of a much larger puzzle? The Leviathan Echoes project, shrouded in secrecy, suggests that governments, or at least elements within them, have been aware of this hidden animal voice for decades. They might not fully understand it, but they are certainly listening, and perhaps they are even experimenting. The idea that a supraspecies intelligence exists, communicating through esoteric signals that shape the animal kingdom and perhaps even brush against the fringes of human consciousness, is a terrifying proposition. It paints a picture of humanity not as the apex of terrestrial intelligence, but as an unwitting participant in a much grander, much older dialogue. A dialogue we are only beginning to eavesdrop on, and perhaps a dialogue we should never have discovered. Because if we are merely hearing fragments, responses, or even warnings, what happens when we finally understand the full message? What happens when the true animal voices, unleashed from the depths of the unknown, finally become clear? To this day, the bloop remains officially unexplained, a footnote in oceanographic history. But the declassified documents, the consistent anomalies, and the persistent secrecy surrounding animal vocalizations paint a far more sinister picture. A picture where the sounds we hear are just echoes, and the true source is still lurking, listening, waiting. If you want more mysteries that challenge our understanding of reality, the next video explores the chilling implications of unexplainable disappearances in national parks. Prepare yourself, for sometimes what we don't know is far more terrifying than what we do.